I love a device that has a good split personality because, well, I can relate. I think the guys at Asus have made this device with specifically me in mind. Classical music plays in my head every time I open the lid. It is just so exquisite. Even when you press the power button, there is this sort of RGB dance on the keyboard. It's like the curtain raiser on a Hans Zimmer concert, and that makes sense because the speaker setup on this is amazing. More on that later. The thing is, this device I feel is aimed squarely at the very serious creative professional, but at the same time there's this sort of unhinged personality within it which likes to set fire to anything that's the color pink and just can't help sniffing the leather strap on his watch when in public. For me, this is the best laptop of 2023, and I mean like the best gamer laptop, the best creator's laptop, the best day-to-day use laptop. Naturally, nothing is perfect, and I found quite a few areas in which I found this lacking. So is the Zenbook Pro 16X the laptop that you've been waiting for? Stick around and find out. Thank you for choosing to watch my video. If you do like my content and are into tech and gaming, please do consider subscribing and liking it. It will offer me a lot of encouragement to continue to bring out new content to you guys. So let's quickly go over the hardware highlights. Starting off with the CPU, this has a 13905H. In terms of performance, it has the exact same performance output as that of the more popular 13900H. It's got 14 cores and the 6 P cores also boost up to 5.4 GHz, but this is a smaller package. It's designed to fit tight spaces, and that's important with the Pro 16X because this is packed full of lots of hardware in a very thin payload. Regardless, it still supports 105 watts of TDP. Now you also get the RTX 4080 with 12 gigabytes of VRAM and 192 bits memory bus. Based on the tests that I've done, the GPU power goes up to about 140 watts, and that's pretty good in a size like this. Trust me, it will surprise you with its performance. We'll talk about that in a bit. I also got 32 gigabytes of soldered on non-removable LPDDR5X physical RAM. Now that is the first downside, and I'll make a list of the things that I found lacking in the Pro 16X towards the end of the video. But there is an upside because the memory speed on this RAM goes up to 7,467 megatransfers per second. For comparison, my Alienware X16 here, which also has soldered on RAM, only goes up to 6,000 megatransfers per second. Then I also got a Gen 4 single terabyte SSD by Samsung. This only has one slot for your SSD drive. Usually you'll have two. For example, the X16 has two, the Legion Slim 7 has two, this one just has the one. And obviously that spectacular 16-inch OLED with the 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio and the inky blacks. Watching sci-fi movies on this is pretty nice. It has 100% DCI-P3 color gamut and also has 133% sRGB coverage, and it has color management software by Pantone, which, by the way, this partnership between Asus and Pantone is ending by the end of 2023, and they will come up with their own sort of software in the future. That's the alert that I got. It has a 3.2K resolution, so that's about 3200 by 2000 pixels, and that really maxes out the sharpness for this size. Like 4K would have been overkill. The website claims 550 nits of brightness, but within the Windows own settings I saw 610 nits of brightness. Either way, I think that's a very generous amount. And this is also a touchscreen, and it's not just a touchscreen, it also comes with its own pen because it has an active digitizer. Now this is a pretty premium feeling pen. It's also rechargeable using a Type-C port. It also comes with some extra nibs out of the box, which means that you can use it to draw a potato riding a cheetah. By the way, this is Gorilla Glass and has a glossy finish, which I have to apologize for because of the reflections you might be seeing in my videos. It has a 0.2 millisecond response time, which is pretty amazing. And now we come to its refresh rate, which is, well, 120 hertz. Now shush, before you all start throwing rotten tomatoes at me and telling me that your phones have a higher refresh rate than this whole laptop, you know what? This should not apologize to you for its refresh rate. I think we've all become a little bit too obsessed with refresh rates these days. The only reason why you need high refresh rates like 240 Hz or 165 Hz, which yes, other gaming laptops tend to usually have, is for esport titles. But when you get a laptop with a near 4K display, you're choosing quality over quantity. This is the choice of adventurers and explorers and those who like to get immersed in a good story and not, brag about how many headshots they got in the last match. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the latter, but I'm just saying, like, even with 120 hertz or 120 frames per second, playing Call of Duty is a very enjoyable experience. Casual gamers and professionals and artists and CEOs all wound together in one person. This is the target market of this laptop in my head. Now, this is also priced for CEO pockets. I got this for 4,000 Canadian dollars without tax, and this also includes a $500 discount. For reference, you can get a similarly spec'd X16 with a 4080 and an i9 for about $600 less, especially right now when Boxing Day sales are out there. And I know that's a significant difference, but if I can offer an explanation, while the Zenbook is for CEOs, the X16 is for spoiled children of CEOs. Yes, I am both father and son. I feel like this is also very densely packed. I mean, it feels like a solid block of aluminium when you hold it, when you lift it up. Every inch of it is built from premium materials. The marketing materials actually referred to as military grade. That standard is apparently called MIL STD 810H. That means that this has passed through like 21 tests, which includes humidity tests, shock tests, vibration tests, the temperature tests. So this is an all metal construction. It has an anti-fingerprint coating as well, which from my use actually is true. And it has this nice sort of radial brushed aluminium sort of look at the top of the lid, and I really like it. It emanates from the Asus logo, which, by the way, the modern Asus logo I am a big fan of, and I really like how they've introduced RGB in just the outlines of this logo. It looks very discreet. It looks very nice. It is made out of this aerospace grade aluminum 6000, which is basically an alloy which consists of aluminum and silicone and magnesium, and when treated with heat, this brings about a lot of strength in the alloy as well. The website claims about 16.9 millimeters of thickness, and that's about 0.66 inches, and that is lower than the Razer Blade 15. That's amazing. For a device that's housing an RTX 4080 that goes up to 140 watts, this is insane. You might be just starting to think about thermals, but we'll get to that later in a bit as well. I wanted to use my vernier caliper to actually validate that, but because of this gasket type layout in the back, it was difficult to do so. Long story short, first look at it, there's no way you're thinking that this is a gaming laptop. This is meant for productivity and browsing, not for gaming. Because of the all metal construction, this does weigh a little bit. It weighs about 2.4 kilograms. For reference, the Alienware X16 weighs in about 2.6 kilograms. Look how neat this looks because it has no exhaust vents on the side. And again, that's something that is very normal for gaming laptops to have. You need to vent that extra heat out. It needs to go on all three sides. How is this managing all of that heat? All of the hot air is shot only from the back using this very clean grill, and that's it. In terms of the width and the depth, it does have a smaller footprint in comparison to the X16. It actually fits an old padded sleeve that I got for a 15-inch laptop a long time ago, but the Alienware X16 cannot fit in this. So this not only has RGB, but it has RGB W. So that means that it no longer mixes R, G, and B to produce the color white, and instead has its own dedicated diode. So that white just looks properly white. Net result, the color representation on these RGB lights is pretty accurate. And you also get a decent level of brightness on these. By the way, you get 3 levels of brightness on the RGB using the function F7 key. It's either medium, high, off, or low. In terms of customization, you get a single zone on the logo on the lid. You get a single zone for each underglow strip on each side of the keyboard, and then you've got the per key keyboard itself. I have to admit though, this underglow treatment on each side, it's quite tasteful. It's not vulgar like the full front bar light here or like the lighting at the back. This is for you. This is proper ambient lighting. Asus has tried to implement a bit of contextual lighting here as well. For example, when an email comes in, this is going to have a green wave on it. When you change the performance mode on this, it's going to show like different sets of colors. When the battery is low, it's going to start blinking red. I tried using the Asus Armory Crate software for even better RGB customization on this, but it gives me an error and says the lighting is incompatible. So that's a bit of a bummer because, well, the contextual lighting does not extend to games. So what you're left with is the My Asus app, and you need to go into the customization setting and the exclusives tab, and then you're greeted with some customization options or some presets. When you want to customize on a per key basis, it only gives you 3 effects to choose from: static, breathing, and strobing. And that is pretty bare bones. But good news is that you get a little bit of customization even within the presets, because even when you've got like the rainbow effect happening, you can choose between the colors. But to layer on different effects on top of each other like you do in Armory Crate, yeah, that's not happening here. Either way, I'm happy with the RGB. The lighting on this looks great and adds the right amount of flair while maintaining the dignity and discreetness of the CEO level laptop. Other than the RGB, there's some other features that you get in the My Asus app. For example, you can limit the battery charge on this till 80% so that you can improve the longevity of your battery pack. You can also switch between discrete graphics and hybrid graphics mode. You can set the color gamut. You can enable switching the refresh rate down to 60 Hz every time the power is disconnected. You can change the way internet bandwidth is prioritized across your various content. There's also target mode, which dims inactive windows that you have on your screen to save battery. Coming to the keyboard, to reduce my bias, I actually had a few friends type out on this and they actually really enjoyed it. They found it to be quite nice. Me, on the other hand, I found them to be a bit mushy. Like the level of tactility and clickiness was, well, less than what I had anticipated. Maybe I got spoiled from the Cherry MX switches on my X16, yes, but no doubt they were very accurate to type on, and in the end, I kind of got used to them. You get the standard media controls on this, and you can lock them using the function escape key, volume up, volume down, screen brightness, RGB brightness, but you don't get any play, pause, next, or previous track buttons. But what you do get is a mic mute key. And not just any mic mute key, it has its own dedicated light to let you know if it's on or off. In other laptops, you get like an on-screen indication whether the mic is on or off, and then that indication disappears. But it might happen to you, as it has happened to me, that while playing a Call of Duty match, I lost track of whether my mic was muted or not. And this can allow your friends to help themselves to all the private conversations that are happening all around you. Believe me, I learned the hard way when my friends found out that I was. Anyway, using the function F shortcut key, you can switch between the performance modes, and there are 3 of those. There is silent mode, there is standard mode, and then there is performance mode, and they do as they say, and they can have a significant effect on the fan noise as well. Things all seem very well proportioned with this keyboard because everything's where it should be. But you might be thinking, I wish I had a keypad because I like number crunching. Well, why not? Because with a quick press of that button, you can have your keypad right here within the trackpad, and it's not gimmicky or anything. You can still use the mouse as it is. It's got a very clever way to tell if you're pressing a button or if you're just scrolling, and I found it to be perfectly usable. And you can also change the brightness on this keypad. By the way, from the My Asus app, the brightness of this keyboard can also be adjusted automatically based on the lighting in your room. The other thing that's special about this trackpad, other than that, it doesn't move. Usually you can physically push the lower end of the trackpad down and you can feel it, but in this, it's fixed. I like to call it the solid state trackpad. This uses a haptic motor to simulate a click, and it feels pretty accurate. Like if I didn't tell you that this was fixed, you wouldn't even have noticed. It makes for a very seamless experience. You don't even have to lift up your finger to click. You just press a little bit harder to register a click, and this makes dragging and dropping on this, or like even selecting text, and it just makes the whole experience quite convenient and quite smooth. I like it. We get a 1080p webcam in here as well, which also supports Windows Hello. You probably would see up on screen right now the video quality that you can expect from this camera. I think it's a pretty decent result. Additional camera settings are also available within the My Asus app. Usually you'll have to rely on the software that's using the camera itself to make any fine tuning, but here this is the base setting that you can apply for all of the other software that's using it. For example, you can blur the background, you can optimize the lighting, and my personal favorite, head tracking, is when wherever you're looking, the camera just sort of crops out that part, and it does a very, very good and very smooth job of it. It can also help get rid of your skin blemishes. This would be helpful for those who are into online dating. Even for the audio, there are several noise cancellation settings. I really like single presenter mode, where you can actually train the mic to only pick up your voice. You could have people sitting right next to you and they could be singing songs. We are trying to have a very important meeting here, but the person on the other end is just able to listen to you, and that's it. And that's amazing. You also get fingerprint login through the power button itself. The power button, by the way, does not get lit up. But to have a choice between facial and fingerprint login in a gaming laptop is actually quite rare. So to have that choice is pretty nice. For sound, we are getting 6 speakers in here. 2 tweeters, which are right at the top, front facing, and then we've got 4 low frequency woofers that they call it, or speakers. What is most impressive is the sheer volume on this. Like, this is a Bluetooth speaker, like without a doubt. Asus has built in a sort of smart amplifier in this to help with that, and you can enable that setting in the My Asus app as well. But it's not distorted sound. The sound remains very clear and very balanced. In the end, the sound from this can easily fill up a medium-sized room. Port selection is where the biggest compromise is to be made when you're selecting this Zenbook. You get two Type-C Thunderbolt 4 ports, which also support charging, I think up to 100 watts. And then you get one Type-A USB 3.2 Gen 2 port. And that's it. So that means I cannot plug in my wireless mouse and my wireless headset together without using some sort of an adapter or some sort of dongle. I am not exactly happy about that, but like I said, nothing's perfect. It's a compromise I'm willing to make. You do get a full-size SD Express 7 slot as well on the right, and that supports transfer rates up to 985 MB per second, so that's great for content creators. You also get HDMI 2.1 and a headphone jack on the right as well, and that's it. Another little innovation that Asus has been pushing on its creator-grade laptops is this circular trackpad, this Asus Dial as they call it. It would have been nice if this was backlit, but it's not. At a basic level, you can use it to control like the screen brightness or the volume level, or you can use it to scroll a page. That doesn't sound all that useful to me, but at a more advanced level, you can use it to control your creative software. For example, in Adobe Premiere, you can use it to zoom in and out of your timeline or to scrub very accurately through your footage. You can also use it to scroll between all of your open tabs within your Chrome window, and that can be very useful for my fellow ADHDers out there who could have hundreds of tabs open at the same time. It changes the control based on the active window that you have. But it can be a little bit silly as well, because when you're using MS Word, the only option it gives you is to increase and decrease the font size. And that's not something that I personally need to frequently adjust. You can apply two separate user interfaces to this dial. You can either use Asus's own version, or you can use the version that comes with the Microsoft Surface wheel. So you can experiment with what works best for you. It would be really great to hear from you guys on the usefulness of this Asus dial or the wheel if you've been using it before. Now, to break the suspense on thermal management, it is this device's crown jewel. It is the reason why this laptop is so unhinged, and I mean literally, because if you pay close attention, you will see that this screen from behind is floating. It's not attached to anything. The secret, as many of you may have noticed, is this tilt forward keyboard. It closes when the lid closes completely flat, and it rises when the lid opens. And the screen is actually attached to the hinge mechanism in there. And this yields major benefits in terms of better airflow and even a better typing angle. Though, yes, this also means that this mechanism is a bit delicate and you'll have to be sort of careful when using it, even with its military background. Asus is using liquid metal here, and it's only using two fans. Now, we have to compare it to the X16 and also the Legion 9i that I reviewed previously, which uses like 3 to 4 fans, and they had to push the keyboard lower and make their trackpad smaller just so that they can have the intake for their fans up top. And this has none of those drawbacks. You get a full-size trackpad and you get a normal keyboard. It's a regular laptop. It's such a clever design. I love it. How cool is it that you can just close the lid, and this is thinner than a Razer Blade 15. Now, moving on from thermal, we need to talk about performance. I was extremely impressed by the performance numbers I got from this, considering how thin this is. I mostly used the dedicated GPU mode and like the high performance mode on this, which maxes out the fans naturally, but again, not too loud from my experience. I want to start off with the 3D Mark Time Spy test, and the score I got there was 17,223 points. And the X16 that I have here, which is the fully powered RTX 4080, got a score of 17,922. So about a 4% higher score with the X16, but that is insane. This is a 175 watt fully powered RTX 4080. This is a gaming machine, whereas this is kind of not. So you should be seeing up on screen right now the results that I got from the built-in benchmarks that I ran from games, and I did that so that's easy for you to compare on your end as well, the difference in performance. For all of these tests, I maxed out the settings. I did not use any upsampling technique. I did not use DLSS or AMD's FSR. HDR, just so that we can compare the raw performance and not use any additional trickery, right? And I also kept the resolution at QHD plus, so that's 1600p, though I have provided a few results for the 3.2K resolution as well, and that is important to see because you can enjoy all of the best AAA titles right now at 3.2K resolution on a laptop that's this thin at very playable frame rates. What more do you want? In quite a few scenarios, I saw the Pro 16X was giving me higher performance than the 16X Alienware. That's amazing. Even when we're hitting these sort of numbers at the highest settings, this laptop remains cool. Like these wrist areas, I have never ever felt them getting warm. They're just always room temperature, and even these keys, they're cool. Like it just feels like there's nothing happening underneath. It feels like the laptop is off when you're using it even under high loads. Yes, you can hear the fans and everything. Based on the logs that you might see up on screen from a Modern Warfare 2 match, I saw that the GPU power was mostly oscillating between 120 watts and 140 watts. So as we are moving towards conclusion, I do want to summarize the things that I found lacking on the Pro 16X, the compromises that I mentioned earlier. It's not a long list, and for me, this is still okay. I'm perfectly happy with this. Other than this tiny list you see up on screen, the Zenbook Pro 16X is a do-it-all and a do-it-well machine. No matter what requirement you throw at it, it just says yes. Heavy content creation, yes. AAA games at 3.2K resolution, yes. Watching ultra-high definition movies with great HDR, yes. Number crunching, yes. RGB customization, yes. Convenient login, yes. Drawing a picture, yes. Looking sleek and slim while doing all that, yes. Having conference grade online meetings, yes. I'm running out of fingers now. Working long hours while being on battery, yes. It just does everything. It is both a tuxedo and a sweatshirt. It is amazing, and it is most definitely my chosen laptop of the year 2023. So that's it, guys. Thank you all very much for watching. If you did find my content to be useful, please do consider liking and subscribing. I wish all my viewers a happy new year and look forward to keep on bringing new content out in 2024. See you then, guys.